How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great to meet you, man. Thanks for taking a minute out.
Hey, no problem. Glad to be here.
So, before we get into your timeline, and actually, where are you coming out of right now?
Southfield, Michigan,
Okay, right on. Um, I've
just
been.
north of Detroit.
Is that where's that by? Where's that central? What major city?
Just north of Detroit.
Okay, yeah. The last time I was in Detroit was in the late '90s, and I got stuck in a blizzard with two cats in my car. It was quite an ordeal.
Yeah, Michigan winters were rough back then. They're not so bad now.
Yeah. I think everything's gotten a little milder. I mean, we were told, don't drive, but we had to get out. It was around Christmas and man, we got stuck in a town for 2 or 3 days. It was that bad. So it was serpentine belt snapped and everything just shut
Wow.
down.
Yeah.
So it happens for sure. But before we get into your life and your career and trajectory, I want to know, how did you survive the last 3 years with COVID? How did you get through it? And how has it changed the way that you go about things now?
One, we isolated. I'm a deacon at my church, and me and my wife lead. I lead a couple ministries like Sunday school and some other things, but we lead a marriage ministry. Me and my wife do, and we had a marriage ministry event the last Sunday before shutdown, and we couldn't be there because my wife got a call from the school system that she works for that one of her coworkers got exposed. So we should probably isolate until their tests come back negative, right? And at the time, as a matter of fact, at the time, there wasn't even a test you could take because this was at the very, very beginning, right? So, long story short, we called the church, we told our church group on that Saturday, it's like, hey, we can't do the event tomorrow. You guys have to do it without us. We got to isolate. And 10 members of that ministry all came down with COVID at the same time because someone was sick at that event.
Wow.
And so two of them went into the hospital, and Mike, who's the chairman of our deacon board, didn't make it. He ended up passing away.
Wow.
So, and Mike was younger than me. So I took it very seriously at the beginning because, I remember talking to some guy like in June, and he's like, oh, this is made up. This is the government. This is da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, you haven't lost anybody yet, have you? And he was like, no. I says, okay, I get it. You don't know it's real.
Yeah.
It's like AIDS in the 80s, right? When you lose someone personal and you know what their health status was, and they weren't messing around, you know what I mean? They weren't doing some illegal drugs or anything like that. Then it'll be real to you. But until you know somebody, you lost somebody, you're thinking it's fake. I get
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And we isolated, we masked up everywhere. Um, Me and my wife last year we celebrated our 25th anniversary,
Excellent.
and we felt comfortable enough to go on a cruise. And her and I and my two of my kids and my best friend and his wife, we all went together, and all of us got COVID except for one.
Wow.
And I was like, man, we went 2 years. We went 2 years. You
Yep.
know, um, but we were vaxxed. All of us were vaxxed. So I got home. I got sick actually on the way home. So when I got off the ship, I was fine. By the time I walked in the door, I was sick as a dog, and I knew I had COVID.
Wow.
So you know, I took the Paxlovid, and within a couple of days, I was feeling much better, and I was fine. And then still we masked up and going out to places last year. I didn't stop wearing a mask out in public until maybe 6 months ago,
Okay.
where I got comfortable. And I'm still like, I'm very cognizant now of, like, Joe, if you and I were at like a meetup, I'm going to a real estate meetup tonight. And if you and I were talking, I'm very cognizant of how close we are,
Yeah.
right? And me breathing your air,
Yeah. I get it.
and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, And I don't want to get sick again. That was terrible. When I got COVID last year, that was bad. I'm not trying to go through that again. So I make sure I'm vaxxed, and we still everywhere we go, we sanitize our hands and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're still careful,
Yeah.
except for we don't mask up 24/7 like we used to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
No, I understand it. It altered us permanently, that's for sure. So, I still sanitize all the time. So I got a bottle in my car and I'm always doing it. Um, so let me ask you this. You mentioned the ministry. You're an author, lending expert. There's a lot that goes into you, but let's boil this down to something that everybody can understand. You're in front of a bunch of third graders, career day. A little kid looks up and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Easy. I provide money so that people can buy buildings like the one we're standing in today. So when you go into a grocery store, or you go into an apartment building, or you go into an office building or a Starbucks, any type of building that's a business building, or it's a building where there's a lot of people in, I do that financing for that. I provide the money for that type of building and that kind of property.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know third grade. I know before I got to high school, I'm a child of the 70s, right? I was born in 67, right? So I was raised up on, the Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights, and the Jacques Cousteau specials that used to come on before that,
Yeah.
right? And remember Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Man, I'm going
Yeah.
way back,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Cool. Very cool.
I liked animals. I wanted to do that. And then when I got to high school, probably my sophomore year, at the time I found out they don't make much money, you know, and I would have to probably leave Michigan, and work on the West Coast, or in the Gulf or something like that. And I was just like, man, and then they don't make much money. So it was like, okay, I'm not, I might do great work, but I'm not going to have a nice house. I'm not going to have a nice car. Scientists, they're working on grant money and, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, so I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So I got into engineering, and I went to school for mechanical engineering. And then through life, back in 87, I think it was, I took a sales job on a fluke just to make some money, and that was it. I was in sales, because I made more money at 20 than in sales than my dad was making as a master electrician.
Wow. Yeah, that'll open you up.
So there was no going back for me. And in 2006, I was doing residential loans. Um, and those were back in the days when, you could finance a dog and their five puppies. Like there was no oversight
Uh-huh.
or anything. You couldn't do the loans fast enough. There wasn't enough appraisers for the amount of business we were doing. And but I would still put people in fixed rate mortgages. I would only do the right thing, And I had this conversation with my boss because I had a prison guard buying his first house, and I gave him an $80,000 mortgage, and he's like, "How come you didn't give him a $300,000 option arm?" And I'm like, "Because if the thing moves on him, he's screwed. The guy's a prison guard. He's fixed income. He's not married. It's his first house. That's the appropriate mortgage for him. Are we supposed to do the right thing for our clients?" Oh, there you go, talking to do the right thing stuff. You don't want to make money. That's the problem. I'm like, no, I love money. I'm a capitalist. You cut me, I bleed green. You know, there's no issues with that, but we still got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with my pastor that next Sunday about why is doing the right thing a badge of dishonor. It should be a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, Malcolm, if you're going to do a mortgage company, how would you do it? I'm like, when I do commercial, because it's all about the math. If the money makes sense and I'm making money, I do it. If I don't make money, I don't do it. You know, He's like, well, how would you set up an office? I'm like, well, you just, rent out an office, and this is where I go get office space. You have to establish some relationships with lenders, and here's how I go about doing that. You bring some staff in, blah, 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 you know, and he goes, okay, great, let's do it. I goes, whoa, whoa, we're talking hypothetical.
Yeah.
We're just, shooting the breeze here, you know. He's like, yeah, you should do it. And, I'd love to do it with you. And, we could be partners. And, I love you like a brother. And I trust you with money with as much as anybody. And I was like, okay, uh, okay, fine. So 2 months later, Castle Commercial Capital in February of 2007 was established, and 16 years ago.
Wonderful. So who's been kind of a hero or a mentor for you?
Oh wow. I've got a couple. I got a few. I can't say there's like one person.
Sure.
I got a gentleman that counseled me in real estate. I got another guy that counseled me in was a mentor to me in the finance business. You know, um, and one of the things he always said to me that stuck with me, he was like, Malcolm, understand something. We are in the paper game. Your clients are in the property game. They're not the same game. So this is how the paper game is played. Here's how the property game is played. Okay. You stick to the paper game, and understand what that because that's our business, right? It's paper, right? And so and I didn't really look at it as being separate, but he really sort of opened my eyes because the financials behind lending money and how that capital was raised and how it's distributed, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. And I never want to compete with my clients.
Yeah.
So they're not going to see me out there, rehabbing a house or, collecting rent on a multifamily or, doing that kind of stuff. If they come to me with a great deal, I want them to be confident that I'm going to do everything possible to get them the best paper and the best cost of capital I can for that property, because if I was ruthless, right, Joe, if I was Machiavellian, I would never approve anybody. I would take applications, generate some fees, string them along, tick off the seller, tick off the agents, right? The deal goes bust because they couldn't close on time. And then I go back to that seller the next day and say, hey, listen, I know you didn't close, but I got some guys will close it. But listen, we need to buy this thing at like a 15% discount. And when people are ticked off, I've seen sellers make emotional decisions.
Yeah.
Over and over and over because they're people.
Yeah.
Because they're people, right? And so there's a word in the street. It's called loan to own. You ever heard that before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's basically houses that do bad debt, or they do bad business in such a way that they collect real estate.
Yeah.
That's their real thing.
Yeah.
Is they want the property, so they write deals that they don't want to fail, or they charge people lots of fees, they never close, and then miraculously their property portfolio starts to grow.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm not one of those guys. I'm not
Yeah.
in business. And when I wrote my book, there was a need for education on our commercial bridge loan strategy. We call it BLISS, the Bridge Loan Investor Success Strategy, because most deals are not bankable. So if this is the market, everyone's fighting over this many deals because these are the deals that have great cash flow, great credit, not great credit, excuse me, great occupancy. They're in great neighborhoods, great locations, right? And everyone's fighting over those deals. You're not buying them at a discount. You're paying full boat for them, or you're overpaying, right? There's plenty of money for them, but everybody's fighting over these deals. Well, there's actually this many deals that could get done, but they're not bankable. There's some what we call hair on the deal. There's some defect in the deal. Like example, maybe the occupancy is 70%, That's not stabilized.
Yeah.
So 70% occupancy, you can't get conventional traditional financing. You know, well, there are over 7 non-bank alternative financing options that you could take advantage of. You know, one of those is private money with bridge loans, right? And private money using bridge loans offers a flexibility where you can get a deal that's got issues. And because the property has issues, it's discounted. You're not paying full boat, right? Because I can't sell that building for full market value if my cash flow is terrible, if my occupancy is in the floor, right? If there's a lot of deferred maintenance that has to get done, it's got problems. So those problems therefore merit a discount relative to full market value, which if I'm an investor, you know, of course I'm looking to buy something low and sell high. That's the basics of business. That's America,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
I find me a discounted property. Now, if I'm a problem solver, I get paid more
Yeah.
than buying a property that has no problems to solve.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The bigger the problem, the more problems, the more opportunity it is for me to make money.
Yeah.
We come in with a kind of financing that works for problem solvers. Bad occupancy, we'll finance that. You know, bad cash flow or no cash flow, yeah, we can still finance that. Oh, okay. The problem solver goes in there, cleans it up, makes it pretty, fills up the occupancy, gets the rents to market, you know, because maybe the rents are 30% below market. You know, they're $700 a month and they should be at 1,000. And I get everyone up to market. Now I can go and say, hey, this building I bought for, let's say, 1.2 million. Now that it's fully occupied, it's at full cash flow. It actually moved up in class from class D to class B or C to B. Now I can use a lower cap rate to calculate value, which means for that same amount of income, it's now worth $2.8 million.
Yeah, sure. Interesting. Yeah. So what is it that motivates you every day? What is the motivator for you to do your work and to help people out in various ways? What is that for you?
Well, one, I like the mentality of investors. You know, I like working with people who are creative. I like working with people who want to get after it, you know. And so it takes a certain type of person to be a successful investor, right? And I like working with those kind of people.
Yeah.
You know, they're fun people, you
Yeah.
know. And I tell you something folks don't get enough credit for. People of vision are fun people to work around. People that can see something and says, you know what, here's an acorn, and when I'm done with it, it's going to be an oak tree, you know, and I'm going to go out there and make it happen. And it's like, yeah, and you'll be inspired. You may not even be in the business, but you work around those people. You're like, you know what, I need to make my thing work.
Yeah.
The thing that I was put on this earth to do, I need to go out and get after it because look at what he's achieving.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff's contagious.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
So of all the things that you've accomplished so far in your life, what are you the proudest of?
oh, my family, no, no question. I mean, you know, me and my wife we just had, was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2.5 weeks ago, we had our 26th anniversary, right? And we got three great kids, you know, um, and you know everybody loves each other. You know, me and my wife, we sit down and we have dinner together almost every night of the week. You know, same with the kids. I was joking with my daughter just a little while ago. I said to her, she's my youngest daughter is 12, right? And I said to her, "Are you going to cook dinner for your family when you have kids one day, like every day?" And she's like, "What? No, I'm going to teach them how to cook." You know, and I'm like, you know, you'll have a happier life if you follow your mom's example,
Yeah.
right? Because we're involved in the lives of our children. You know, we know what's going on because we connect. And even the older ones, I've got a 25-year-old and a 20-year-old, and they still come home. Cool. They're here all the time. they
Yeah.
come home all the time. And they're like, and my son, he's working for Ford Motor Company. He's got a great job. And he still's like, hey, Dad, how you doing? Just calling to check up on you.
Cool.
And so many people are lacking that kind of relationship, with their kids.
Yeah.
And me and my wife, we're still honey this, baby that, and my mom or her sister, who's probably the two people that are around us the most often outside of, the immediate household, they're like, oh my God, you guys make me sick. You've been around each other forever. Can you just let it go?
Yeah.
And we're like, no.
Right.
We still laugh, we still have fun.
Cool.
So, now business wise, I'm proud of my business because one, look, I started in 2007.
Yeah.
Joe, just surviving,
Yeah.
just surviving, right, is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because there's so many companies that didn't make it,
True.
and then COVID came,
Yeah.
right? And COVID took some more of us out
Yeah.
of the picture. When the shutdown happened in March of 2020, and I had deals in the pipeline, and all of a sudden, everybody stopped lending. And I'm like, hey, I'm waiting on that wire. And the fund manager's like, yeah, it's not coming. What do you mean it's not coming? He's like, we didn't call. We got to put a halt on things for now. And I'm like, okay. So I says to my team, well, we're not closing any deals right now, so let's get to work. And
Yeah.
they're like, get to work. I'm like, yeah, there's stuff we should have been doing that we got time to do. So we redid our website. We redid all of our marketing. We came up with a mobile lending app, right? I mean, we got busy with that
Yeah.
free time. And then when things eventually a few months later, lending picked up again, we now had a brand new site, new logo. We had a new fresh face. We had again a mobile lending app, which 95% of my quote unquote competitors don't have, you know, and we got to work. And then I wrote the book, you know, financing the unbankable deal, how to buy commercial real estate with the bridge loan investor success strategy. And we just been, continuously moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, because
Absolutely.
you stand still and you're done.
Yeah, I agree. So, Malcolm, everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
In what way? Can you be more?
Just everybody has this idea of who they think you are, and there's all these different things that go into who you are professionally and personally. But
Right,
ultimately, you have a driving ego, id, superego that
right.
propels you in life. What is that? What is your idea of who you think you are?
Well, listen, man, I had to work on me. I mean, the guy I was in the '80s. Oh my God, that guy, you know, right, is not the guy sitting here now, right? The guy in the '90s, is not the guy that's sitting here now. Me and my wife joked, we got married. We're talking about this last night, us starting having kids earlier because we got married, like at 29, 30 years old, right? And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If we would got married at 25, we would not still be married.
Yeah,
We had to mature a little bit.
sure.
And I think for me, I'm kind of like what you see is what you get, and I've learned to stand on my integrity. There's so many people who don't do what they say they're going to do. So, and it's gotten me a lot of business, to be frank. I've had people call me back and they're like, Malcolm, you're the only lender I know that actually answers his freaking phone. I call these guys, I call these guys, I call these guys, they don't answer their phone. And then if I can't do something or I can do it, but I can't do it in the time frame they want, I tell them. I say, listen, I can't tell you what you want to hear. Let me tell you the truth. Here's what it is. And folks are like, I wish you were telling me something different, but I appreciate the honesty versus other people that string me along and then it doesn't happen. And so for me, somebody that folks can count on, a loyal friend, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to have do 1,000 deals, 1,000 loans a year with 1,000 clients. I'm looking for 100 clients that I can do 1,000 loans with.
Yeah.
You know, that we can have a relationship. If they don't count a relationship as something of value and they look at it as a commodity, I'm probably not their cup of tea, you know, because that's how I am.
Yeah.
You know, and there's people, you know, if I don't like you, I don't have to do your loan.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God I'm in that position, you know,
Yeah.
because I don't like working with a-holes.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, I just don't. I'm a nice guy. I like working with nice people. And I tell folks this in our very first call up front, so they know there's a no a-hole policy at Castle Commercial Capital, right? And if they think just because I'm serving them, they can treat me like dog crap, you know, because I'm getting paid to provide a service,
Yeah.
doesn't quite work that way,
Yeah.
you know.
Excellent. Hey, Malcolm, if anyone out there wants to hire you, buy your book, learn more about what you do, anything about your world, where can they go?
They can go financingtheunbankabledeal.com and they can learn more about our book. And then all of your listeners in your audience, I offer them a free 30-minute consultation. And at the bottom of our page on financing the unbankable deal, there's a spot where they can book right in my calendar a spot for a 30-minute consultation, and we can either talk about a specific deal that they're working on or something in the future, or just strategize generally about, hey, I heard about this. How does this work?
Yeah.
Or this is what I'm thinking of doing, or this is a market I'm thinking of going into. What's my best options finance wise to approach that market? You know, because I think my secret sauce is we share best practices with people. You say, yeah, you could do that, but here's what some other investors are doing that makes them even more money. And I think that's the best way to contact me is through that website.
Malcolm Turner, you're a good man. Thank you so much for opening up. Thanks for your story. Best of luck with everything. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it was great being on your show, Joe. It was an honor.
Thank you. Take care.